before I even became a senator, we were working in the legislature to try to change laws. You can't do it alone. We need each other, and it takes humility. But if we want to change the world around us, if we want to manifest a better world, that manifestation has to start in us, and is always grounded in love and care and compassion.
Hello, I'm Deborah Rozman, and a warm welcome to our listeners to the Add Heart podcast, inspiring forward movement and heart-powered intention. Our topic this episode is Dare to Love, how to release separation in today's polarized politics. And I have a very special guest. Patricia Van Pelt, Ph.D., is an Illinois state senator who practices this, and we're going to learn about how she does it. She's also been an entrepreneur, an author, a real estate developer, a certified public accountant, and co-founder and president of Wakana for Life to help empower underserved communities. And she's a HeartMath certified trainer. And I love her goal in life, she says, is to advance civilization and help solve world problems. Dr. Pat received her doctorate in management of nonprofit agencies after completing a dissertation on the study of social movements and revolutions. Welcome, Pat. We are so glad to have you with us.
I am so happy to be here. It is my pleasure to be here with you. I love HeartMath Institute, and I sing your praises everywhere I go because it is such a powerful answer to the challenges that we're facing today.
Well, I think your background in studying social movements and coming to HeartMath, seeing the heart is key to that. And I love the stories you've told. I want you to share with our listener how Dare to Love, which is your theme, came to you because you've had to make a series of choices. And one was that you shared could you really love and care for all the people, including those who have opposing views to you? And you had to address that given the background you were raised in. And then shortly after you became an Illinois state senator, it became clear to your heart that you had to release separation or you'd have to deny love, justice, and compassion to some of your constituents who had different polarized views. Tell us more about this experience or this realization.
Yes, I tell you, it was definitely a growing experience. I worked hard on trying to solve problems in my community. I started working hard in my community, trying to reduce crime and improve public safety. And I learned that we could not win alone. It wasn't enough for just the African-American community to try to face this alone, that we really needed to build relationships across ethnic lines and then across religious lines, which was a challenge. Because I was raised in church and we always felt like that we could solve our own problems. We didn't need Muslims or any other group, to come in and try to help us. We could do it ourselves. Turns out we couldn't. We needed each other. And so I had to break myself down to accept that fact. And I did it because I wanted to save my community. And so it became clear to me that winning alone was never going to give us the long-term solutions that we were looking for. So that's one reason why I went back to school to study social movements and revolutions, because I wanted to figure out what works. I said, we need a movement. We need something bigger than what's going on. And now, and so I started studying that, and I learned the primary tenets that need to be present in order for a movement to happen. And I'll talk about that a little later, but because I don't want to get too far off the subject here. But I started building relationships across ethnic lines and religious lines, and we ended up having a coalition that won the Coalition of the Year Award in Illinois, and won $50,000, and Organization of the Year Award, and won $35,000. So we were really doing good. But even in spite of all of that, I knew that there was more, and that's what drove me into politics.
That's amazing. You were listening and following your heart, and I just admire Dare to Love. Dare starts with the kind of true honesty that you had with yourself and what am I really going to do here? And then listening to your heart. And, at HeartMath, we have a saying of take a heart stand, not a mind stance with what you believe in, because the mind stances is what perpetuates religious separation, political separation, and polarization, because it just believes it's right and others are wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And you told me that you came to a showdown in the next series of hard choices you had to make when you were shouted down on the Senate chamber floor and you had to dare to choose love and justice instead of suspicion and fear, even in the face of being negated and misinterpreted. What did you do exactly in that moment?
Well, that was a challenge that I wasn't ready for. I thought I was ready when I went in. When I won the Senate race, I thought I would bring the same kind of love and care and understanding to the Senate, and that everything will work out. Now, I did bring the same kind of love, care, and concern to the Senate, but everything didn't work out. Okay, it didn't work out like it did in the community, because what the difference was, in the community, people wanted to solve the problem the same way. We all saw the problem, which is one of the tenets of social movement theory, that you have a collective understanding of the problem and a collective understanding of the solution. So that's one of the tenets, and that in the community, we had that. So therefore, we were able to build a mobilizing unit, which is another tenet, having a mobilizing unit. And then the third tenet is to have a political opportunity, a crack in the system. Something happens to let you come in and fix, operate on something, fix something as a result of there being some type of crack in the system. So we were using that model. We were passing laws and everything. So when I got to the Senate, I thought I could use the same thing. But the problem was, Deborah, was that there was no collective understanding of the problem and the solution. And no matter how much love and care I shared, we couldn't get there. And the reason why was because their constituents was different from my constituents.
Yeah.
And so I struggled with that so hard. And I didn't have the heart math tools. So I didn't have the quick coherence or the heart lock-in. I didn't have any of that. So all I had was my history of using the model that I had learned over time in my own life. It wasn't fast enough. So I found myself, I came to a point where I began to judge them and say, they just don't want us to bring solutions to our state. They don't want change that's going to really be effective for the community. And in reality, they did want that. It's just that it was from a different perspective than the way I was looking at it, the way my community looked at it. So we saw each other as enemies. And that really hurt me really badly, because it caused me to really struggle with stress and anxiety and high blood pressure. And I had to make a decision that, you've got to make a decision about who you're going to be in this moment and in this time. And I will fight my way through it over and over again. But that's why I'm so grateful that I found the heart math tools, because that made me be able to turn it around much, much sooner. Because instead of going through, weeks of battling against this whole thing about whether you're going to show love to these people, do they deserve love? I actually felt like they didn't deserve love, that, they need to be wiped off the face of the earth, because they didn't care about people and they needed to go. That's what I felt. And that created all kinds of physical conditions in my body that I couldn't control. But when I finally came around and said, you know what? Everybody deserves love. Everybody deserves respect for their thoughts and their ideas. Everybody is important, and it's wrong for me to judge them just because their ideas and their values, or ideals and values, were different from mine. And because we couldn't get to yes, was no reason for me to despise them. It was a reason for me to even love them more, because we couldn't get there. And I needed to, as much as I could, protect them from my own peers, right? So it was a powerful experience for me. And I tell you, learning that experience and finding out about the heart math tools, it just really turned my whole world around. I was able to move forward much quicker and help people much sooner than I would have had I not learned of it.
That's amazing, because that's happening everywhere. You look on the news and in our own families and workplaces, that polarization and the human tendency to judge and negate and hate, and turning it around is very powerful for you in your health and well-being and others. But you said because of that, you won the hearts of people inside and outside of the Senate chamber. What happened? What won their hearts? What happened?
Well, it's a thing about it when you exude love and compassion and care. People know it and they respect you. I remember walking into the chamber, and one of the ladies from the that were of the other party, she stood up and hugged me. I knew she probably don't even know why she was hugging me, but she saw, this exuding, that I was exuding this love and compassion, something that I had been fighting with, for a while. I was able to just bring it out and just feel it for everybody. And she felt it, and she got up and hugged me for no particular reason other than that she felt that she should. But, I felt like what they did was over the top, the way they would treat you. And I was trying to pass this law so that all children would have an attorney if they were being interrogated for a crime that may cause them to spend 15 years to life in prison. So I was fighting for them to have an attorney present, which everybody in the United States has the right to have an attorney, but children don't know, so they waive their rights. And we had become the false confession capital of the nation. No other county had more people in prison that had come back and it learned later that they was in prison wrongly because they confessed when they was a child to something, and ended up spending 15, 20 years in prison. So these kids were coming back as adults, testifying to us, telling us what happened. And then when I looked at the research and I saw we were the false confession capital of the nation, I said, we need to change this. And I'm bringing this up. I'm thinking everybody's going to wrap their arms around it, but they didn't. They fought it, and they said I was bringing a hug a thug mentality into the Senate, and that I wanted to shackle the hands of police officers so they couldn't stop crime, so crime could run rampant in the community. And they said, we don't know what you want in Chicago, but in our neighborhood, we are not having it. You're not passing this law, and you're a hug a thug person. You're coddling criminals, and it was just horrific, the things they said. And it really impacted me, because that's when I got to the point where I'm saying, wait a minute, you all know me better than that, right? And so, and then after that, they want to come by and say, hey, let's go out for drinks, or let's go out and have something to eat. I'm saying to myself, I'm not going anywhere with you, you wicked person.
But you turned it around. So something touched their heart, and you got some legislation passed, not everything you wanted. But I just want to know what was the heart moment that you felt these people shift? What won their hearts?
I think when I actually talked about, I started talking to them individually instead of collectively. And I started talking to them individually, and I was able to get them to move from, saying only 11 years old and younger could have an attorney, but they went up to 14 years old. So they have to have an attorney. They can't waive their rights if they're old, if they're young, 14 or younger. And that happened, I think, because I started showing them videos of kids that were being interrogated, so they were able to see it. And also, it wasn't groupthink; it was individual. And I got enough of their support to get them to come. But that took something from me. I had to humble myself to take the time to share. And with the understanding that they may not even get it, even with that, but I had to humble myself. I had to appeal to their humanity, and I did. I got enough of them to vote yes to pass that bill, so that was big.
That's amazing. I just want to really underline what you did, because that's a solution for each one of us in our own families, workplaces, worlds, where how we can make a difference in this heart stand. You knew, your heart told you needed to connect heart to heart with individuals. Took time, but that's care. Care is love in action. And so dare to love is, how can I care? What is going to really move things forward? And it is my experience, always that one-to-one heart connection, and your own heart said, let me show you what I see. These pictures, these visuals, what are we going to do? And then it's a collaborative between you and that person. And you multiply that by individuals, and pretty soon you have a collective shift based upon that collective heart connection and intelligence. And so much of people's beliefs and assumptions are based upon not really understanding the other's world, and being able to share the information like that in the world can make a huge difference in not having to have that personal tragedy in your own life wake you up, like we're seeing right now in so many areas where people are going, wait a minute, we have to do something because the stress is so great in their life, or the tragedy is. You know, you're doing conferences and giving workshops all over the world now, sharing heart math tools that helped you to help people connect with their heart, operate from the heart, come from within, rather than being just influenced, as we all were, by our background or externals, or, you know, compromising themselves in order to stay in power, finding that real inner empowerment. So how do you help people? What is your one message to not be so influenced by the externals, but knowing the truth in your own heart, given all the challenges, the pressures, the stresses going on?
Yeah,
What is
I think that the most important thing that I share with people is that if they want to change the world, they have to start with themselves. That we're not going to change the world unless we find a new way of working. Just like when I was in the community trying to stop crime, then start trying to change laws. Before I even became a senator, we were working in the legislature to try to change laws. You can't do it alone. We need each other. And it takes humility to bring yourself to a place where you try to understand the person from where they're coming from, and also understand that they may not still understand where you're coming from. But if we want to change the world around us, if we want to manifest a better world, that manifestation has to start in us, and is always grounded in love and care and compassion. It's always going to be grounded there. So that's got to be the starting point if you want to change the world. It's got to change. The change has to start in us, and it's always grounded in love.
That's beautifully said. And that means the dare to love is choices, making choices, especially as for yourself and how you handle watching the news and the reactions you have there. You know, that's a good place to practice because there's nobody who can talk back to you. But that separation and that horrific things we see, or people with different beliefs, how can you shift to the heart and practice care and compassion and understanding right there? And then how do you expand that to people in your own family, or in your workplace, or in your social circles? Because I think that, like you said, it starts with yourself and then it goes out to practicing with others. At least that's certainly how I found in my own life. And then it becomes more of a, like for you, it's obvious, it's a baseline. You've practiced this choices so much. And it doesn't mean we still aren't challenged and have to remake that choice, reconnect with the heart. But you know it works. You've proven it to yourself. So your own confidence to keep daring to love is strengthened. And I think that's beautiful. And what we're going to do now is we're going to do a heart meditation together on dare to love for ourselves, taking a heart stand. What does it mean for us personally? And releasing separation. So we're going to get in our hearts and heart coherent state individually and collectively to increase our heart power and our heart powered intention. So let's focus our attention in the area of the heart, the center in the heart. Breathe in love, gratitude, or appreciation. We'll do this for a minute to warm our heart and increase our heart coherence. Let's radiate that heartfelt love and gratitude to each other and our intention to take a heart stand in the face of misunderstandings or separation by daring to love, practicing qualities of the heart like compassion, care, kindness, and forgiveness, which helps us stay centered, lifts our spirit, and creates deeper access to our own honesty and our heart's intuitive guidance. Just radiate that love and gratitude to all people making effort to do this. Take that heart stand. Now, in this collective heart energy, ask your own heart's intuitive guidance, where you could apply heart qualities more in the face of being judged, misunderstood, negated. What heart qualities would be appropriate for your situation? Ask your heart where else you can practice non-judgment, non-separation, connection. Now let's radiate the collective heart energy towards our commitment to stepping into what our hearts just guided us, towards daring to love, actualizing that heart stand. Let's radiate that heart into the collective field to strengthen our intention. And let's co-create a reservoir of heart energy that each of us can access as needed over the next month when our mood falls, our doubts come in. Whenever you want to connect more, reconnect with that heart's intuitive guidance or wisdom. When you need to reboot, reset, you can tap into this reservoir of heart energy that we're all radiating. Now let's close by radiating this collective heart power and intelligence, this reservoir, our love and compassion to people in areas of the planet that are experiencing extreme stress and hardship. Let's see our collective heart energy lifting their spirit a bit in the field and helping them connect more with their own heart.